Thank you all the attendees for joining us today. Hope you had a great time networking with your peers in exhibition lounges. However, the booths will be open till 1 p.m. today, so you can enjoy networking after the event as well. Good morning, everyone. My name is Twinkle, and I welcome you all on behalf of Solar Quarter and First View Group to today's virtual conference on rooftop solar plus storage application for CNI segment. This event has brought us all together on this virtual platform to have insights from some of the prominent industry leaders representing various segments who are actively involved in driving solar mission forward in the region. Let me briefly take you to an overview of today's event. With an aim to decentralize power generation, India is growing rapidly in terms of nationwide rooftop solar installation for close to a decade now. Despite the impact of COVID induced lockdown and uncertainty, about 6.017 megawatt of new RTS capacity was added in 2021. Now, with the possibility of expand the utility of energy derived from variable RE system, battery storage solution have begun to flourish in the RTS market system. Since 2019, the prices of battery packs have dropped below $160 per, and depending on the application, the current cost of the entire battery energy storage system would be around $250 to 300 per kilowatt. So let's begin with our Power Pack webinar today. Now, can I request my team to start playing the sponsor videos? Can we have the videos, please?
Work. In many regions of the world, power grids can be unreliable or unavailable. That is why companies are resorting to solar diesel hybrid systems. Solar hybrid systems are power systems that combine photovoltaic solar power with another energy source. Depending on the situation, the main energy can be the grid power, the PV system, or a diesel genset. When the building is connected to the grid, we talk about a grid-tied system, and when it's isolated, it's an off-grid system. Now, how does it work? To fill in the gap made by grid failure or reduce fuel expenditure, the photovoltaic system is used to supply additional energy. Energy management systems, like our e-power control controller, are needed to optimize the overall system and ensure its best operation. To hear more about hybrid systems, subscribe to our channel and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Every day we start here at our company, FIMER. Here is where we build value for future generations, using clean energy as a response to the world's growing energy needs. Through a complete portfolio of solutions for energy conversion and storage, and charging infrastructure for the growing e-mobility sector. We are a global company present in over 20 countries, with more than 1,100 employees active in more than 100 markets, a presence that always allows us to stay close to our customers. This is also possible thanks to our 100% Italian supply chain, where our solutions are entirely conceived, developed and produced. starting with our global headquarters, a shining example of efficiency, sustainability, and technology that has made us one of the few companies with zero impact. Here in Vimercate, we have an area specialized in cutting-edge metal carpentry and logistics. We invest in high-precision machinery and technologies. In our Terranova Bracciolini production center, we have research and development and production and logistic areas. These allow us to respond quickly and efficiently to the customer requests all over the world. All this is possible thanks to the innovative processes and technologies and high specialized staff who follow the entire production and assembly process, making Fimer an Italian technology leader. In Fimer, we look at the future and we do so with ambition. Welcome to a new energy era. Welcome to Fimer.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm an installer. You already know what a solar inverter is. Exactly, it's not a time machine. Perhaps you don't know what a Fimer inverter is though. This is the new best-in-class power platform for residential applications. But let me tell you why it's so special. First of all, it's the quickest and easiest to install solution on the market. See, it's a one-man installation. An installer like you and me. No assistant needed, no stress. You don't need to undress it. Well, I mean, no need to open the front cover. Forget a screwdriver. It's designed with plug-and-play connections, which makes my job very, very easy. And you'll have high power with a very small and lightweight footprint. It has a matching battery, one of the most flexible and powerful in the category. So thanks to the battery storage, you'll never be out of power, even in the event of a blackout. You can also add multiple batteries, up to 5 couple models, and expand its capacity. So yes, thanks to the additional models, you can listen to music while vacuuming the floor, cooking the rolls in the oven, drying your hair, everything at the same time. Maybe you are into something more colorful, like this, that. Oh, what about this? Every part of your place can work in complete integration thanks to the embedded communication and built-in Wi-Fi logger. Fimer, go for the better.
Is converted into the first current to dream. The nature and technology had a perfect integration. Meanwhile, a new epoch of energy transition is ushered by utilizing the solar technology at the best. The solutions of green power plus green hydrogen is able to produce endless benefits to mankind. LONGi links itself with the world symbiotically with its sustainable solar technology to focus on PV products, PV system solutions, and hydrogen equipment solutions, in process of pursuing the brand development concept of stable, reliable, and technology leading. LONGi has developed 5 business sections covering monocrystalline silicon wafer, cell and module, industrial and commerce PV solutions, terrestrial PV solutions, and hydrogen equipment. And it has evolved into the first solar enterprise in the world and committed to become the most valuable solar technology company in the world to support global zero carbon development and shape the energy mix worldwide. Monocrystalline silicon wafers. LONGi focuses on R&D, production and sale of monocrystalline silicon ingots and wafers. It was the first company fully adopted diamond wire slicing technology. In 2021, the annual production capacity is estimated to exceed 105 gigawatts. LONGi has become a global leader for mono wafer productions. Solar cell and module. Conversion efficiency of PERC cells produced by LONGi had refreshed the world records for multiple times, among which efficiency of N-type TOPCon cell had achieved a new high of 25.21%. Solar module supplied by LONGi had won trust of customers across the world with its reliability, high efficiency, integrated and appealing features. The module shipment had ranked LONGi at the first place in the world. Distributed PV System Solution. Distributed PV system market is with huge potentials. LONGi has set up branches in many countries and regions to provide all-around services to customers through BIPV, solar equipment, project design, construction and grid connections with higher standards. PV Power Station Solution. PV power stations integrate with agriculture, fishery, sand control, husbandry and stock raising industries, and its main business focuses on investment, construction and operation of the comprehensive ecological industrial projects, dedicated to providing efficient and smart PV application system solutions. Hydrogen Equipment Solutions. Under global consensus of carbon neutrality, LONGi Hydrogen Energy has dedicated on hydrogen equipment research and manufacturing to develop an ecological chain of innovation with hydrogen technology and provide complete solutions for green power plus green hydrogen to accelerate energy transitions. Mission of LONGi is to create value for customers. With its sound health and international visions, the company had been granted with over 1,000 crucial patents by relied on its first-class research and development platform. Its cutting-edge technology enabled the leadership of LONGi in solar industry to advance green energy-based technologies, to build a green and zero-carbon world, to share a prospect future with you.
Thank you for playing the video. So before starting today's proceeding, I take this opportunity to thank and welcome our sponsors for this event. Platinum partner LM Energy, Gold partners Hevel India Limited, Fimer and Longi. Now, without further ado, let's begin our first presentation by Mr. Devesh Parmar, Sales Manager India, LM Energy. Welcome to screen, Devesh sir.
Thank you. I hope my screen is visible and I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here. I am Divyesh Parmar, Sales Manager of India at Illum Energy, and I am taking care of sales for the India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and the Nepal market for Illum. Today, during this 15-minute presentation, I will quickly give the company overview for those who are not familiar with Illum at. Then we'll move to our main topic of today's discussion, which is why do you need an EMS for BESS integration? Next, we will move to product overview of the Illum. And at last, I will wrap up the presentation with the real-time references of Illum battery storage projects. Illum is French company based in Paris and having offices in Casablanca, Cape Town, Ahmedabad, India, and Islamabad. And soon we'll be having offices in Sao Paulo and Singapore. We are the experts in control and monitoring for the hybrid systems. Until date, we have deployed more than 500 sites with Elam equipments in more than 40 countries. We provide wide range of products for different kind of applications. Our today's discussion points will be focused more onto the microgrid, which we will be referring as the off-grid, and the solar hybrid systems, which will be referring as the grid-tied. But we also provide the power plant controllers in context of Indian PPC, where we integrate the utility scale solar projects with the grid codes of India, which is, for example, CEA of India. Before jumping to EMS discussion, I would like to ask you why we install battery storage or the energy storage projects. I believe most of you are aware of the BESS concepts and benefits like the increased reliability, increased solar penetration, and the reduction in the fuel consumption. In addition, I will be discussing the behind the meter applications later on during the event. So we'll be digging into two main applications of BESS for C&I. For that, please feel free to read the nomenclatures in this slide. Before that, before explaining the EMS, I would like to highlight why, generally speaking, we need EMS for the battery integration. Today, batteries are the most expensive part of a hybrid or microgrid system. So it is must to operate batteries well, meaning that we have to operate batteries with a certain range of state of charge. And for that, we have to accurately measure the SOC all the times. So an EMS accurately measures the battery SOC constantly, and at the same time, it coordinates the functions of the BMS, PSS, PCS, and the other BESS components. Here you can find the real-time examples or the applications where with the grid-tied storage projects like the C&I buildings, factories, fuel stations, malls, etc. There are mainly three applications when it comes to grid-tied storage projects. Here, the installation of the battery storage is beneficial in terms of the commercial viability. Here, the first example or the application is the tariff management, where with the EMS control functions like the load shifting, peak shaving, export management, the end user can benefit in terms of the savings in utilities. The second one is the auto consumption. So in the regions where the fuel prices are high, so PV plus storage makes a convenient alternative, and it benefits to end user in terms of the decrease in electricity bill. Here, the batteries are charged with the surplus solar power, which would otherwise be curtailed, and then this power is reused when the battery prices or the tariff of the region is high. We call it as a auto consumption, and here the EMS control functions are the export management and the self consumption. The third application is very straightforward for the genset backup, where the benefit is very straightforward, like the fuel cost saving for the gensets. Here is the typical example where our EMS controllers can work. You can see the solar hybrid system, wherein there is a variable renewable energy source solar consisting of PV panels and PV inverters. There is a thermal plant with multiple gensets used for the backup purposes. There is a storage plant with the batteries and the PCS inverters. Here we have wired our e-power control EMS controller with these devices over Modbus RTU or the DCP. Our controller is sending command to PVs for the power curtailment, to gensets for the starting and stop of the genset, as well as the minimum loading of gensets. To battery storage, our controller gives command for the SOC-based charging and discharging. And at the grid side, we can control import and export from the grid. Please note that all our controllers are also performing as the data loggers. So they collect data from all these devices over Modbus and then transfer it to our ePower Monitor server. The ePower Monitor is our proprietary platform for the remote monitoring. Here are the real life examples of the off-grid storage project. One of them is the remote island. So in India, the islands like Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar, Leh, Ladakh, you will find the applications where the genset is the primary source, and then they are installing the solar plus storage. The other applications are the resource mining or the agriculture projects. So for the off-grid storage projects, we have mainly two applications. One is for the brownfield projects where the genset is the primary source. So for the remote islands, there are big gensets already installed and forming a mini grid. Here you can use the renewable energy by addition of small storage and solar projects, which will also be used for the Phoenix reserve applications. Here our controller is functioning with the EMS features like the minimum genset loading, maximum solar penetration, and the operation reserves. And the second application is for the greenfield project like the BESS as primary source, where you are selecting a big size of battery to form a grid, and the battery is sufficiently sized enough to take care of the maximum load. Here, the genset comes into the picture only when the battery is reaching a minimum level of state of charge, And if the gensets are not there for these projects, then you can run the BESS all the times as a grid forming resource. The typical application of the off-grid storage, where as I explained, there can be genset as grid forming or the BESS as the grid forming. So before we jump to the product overview of Elum, I would like to highlight why Elum EMS, what are the value additions of using Elum EMS over the other brands which are already available into the market. So one of the reason is that our solution is technology and brand agnostics, meaning that we are almost compatible with all the major equipment brands available into the market. The only criteria here is that if your device is supporting communication over the Modbus, then we can integrate them into the system. The second one is that our controllers are plug and play controllers, which saves sufficient engineering time from design to operation. So for the design, you can always select our standard products with the standard pricing to be more cost effective. During the commissioning stage, we support you with our e-power configuration tool, which is inbuilt for all our controllers. These tools guide you to the entire commissioning process autonomously. Apart from that, we have a team of technical engineers to support you for the on-site and the online remote supports. When it comes to effective operation and maintenance, so with our e-power configuration or the commissioning tool, you will be able to change the standard parameters of our standard products over the hybrid system. And at last, the value addition of Elam is that we provide you the flexibility to upgrade your solar and storage plant without actually changing the hardware. So with the same hardware, you can upgrade your existing system with the new addition of solar and storage. So this is our main product, which is e-power control MC microgrid controller, which is used for the battery storage projects. On left side of the screen, you will find a white enclosure. This enclosure comes with a inbuilt industrial PC and it has the EMS software built in. This hybrid controller takes care of the various sources like the PV inverters, batteries, gensets, load, and the grid. So this is the centralized solution wherein we can also provide you for the redundancy for the critical applications. In terms of the Indian applications, we can also provide you the solar diesel integration controllers. So with the e-power control HFS, which is our hybrid fuel saver controller, can integrate multiple gensets with the solar without any issue. Then of course we have the power plant controller, which is compliant to CEA standard of India. These power plant controllers are used for the complex hybrid projects as well as the vanilla solar projects for the bigger scale, megawatt scale projects in India. Please note that the PPCs are the customized and the functions varies as per the client requirement. Then, as I mentioned, we are almost compatible with all the major plants available into the market. Of course, Steamer is one of them. And at last but not the least, our remote monitoring platform. As all of you are aware that remote monitoring is the most basic need in Indian market for the effective operation and maintenance. So with our remote monitoring platform, you can view our entire plant portfolio in a single site and maintain your operation and O&M needs. These are the sample screens of our remote monitoring platform for a solar, storage, and hybrid project. Apart from that, if you need a free demo of our monitoring portal, please feel free to contact us after the event. And last, talking about the references, this is the recently commissioned project in India with the Great Tide Solar plus Storage plus gensets, where we have integrated three gensets with a Dynapower PCS and Hitachi inverters. Here we have deployed our e-power control MC, and we are taking care of the different operating modes like the grid connected to islanded, then islanded to genset grid forming, and genset to grid connected. We are here performing the peak shaving, solar ramp rate control, and DC fuel optimization functions. There is another good reference of Comoros into the Indian Ocean. So here we have integrated Kaku string inverters with the Tesla battery power pack. Here we are taking care of the genset grid forming as well as the BESS grid forming as well as per the requirement of the utility and the end user. This is very interesting project of Freedom where we have deployed our PPC controller for the solar storage and fast EV charging. So here the Delta fast EV charging is deployed. Our controller is taking care of the zero export to grid, maximum solar penetration, as well as the smart charging of the EV stations. Then we have a nice reference at the Bahamas Island for the off-grid solar storage and genset project. We have few more references for the grid-tied storage project where the BESS is forming the grid and gensets are coming into the picture when the minimum SOC of the battery is reached. Few more examples where our controllers are deployed in the regions where the PV plus storage is cheaper than the fuel and the grid cost. So we have the references in the Puerto Rico and the Malawi remote cities. So with this, I will end this presentation. Thank you for your attention, and you can always contact me at the given email ID, and you can ask me your questions into the chat box. I wish you a good continuation of the webinar. Thank you.
Snehal, we can't hear you.
Now, moving forward with our next, thank you for your valuable insights, Divesh sir.
Thank you.
Now, moving forward with our next presentation by Mr. Vivek Ganpati, Manager Channel, Business Longi. Welcome on screen, sir.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen.
Yes.
My screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the warm welcome, Snehal. Let me introduce myself. Myself, Vivek Ganapati, Manager of DG Business from Longi. Let me give a brief presentation about our company. As we all know, we are the world's leading solar technology manufacturer, started in 2000. Currently, we are a global team of 60,000 members, strongly contributing to an operation income of 8.4 billion with a net bottom line of 1.3 billion. And also our R&D investment in 2020 is close to 400 million USD. We are aptly rewarded with many awards like Forbes 2020 and also Chinese Fortune 500 company and 50 smartest companies in China. If I want to talk about few milestones of Longi, as I mentioned, we started in 2000. Initially, we were into the semiconductor business. Later, we started manufacturing this silicon ingots. And in 2005, we started manufacturing monocrystalline silicon wafers. Since then, we have been revolutionized this industry with various technological innovations like RC ingot pulling, diamond wire slicing, and standardizing our M1, M2 wafers. In 2014, we became a much more vertically integrated company. Like we started manufacturing our cell and modules. In 2015, we became world's number one module company, monocrystalline module company to ship more than 3 gig modules. 2019, we launched our high efficiency modules using our standard M6 wafer. And in 2020, we launched our standard M10 wafer, which has been widely accepted by everyone now. And also in 2021, Longi entered this hydrogen business to promote high industrialization. Longi entered into this the world's leading silicon hydrogen manufacturing. 2020, we made wafer chips to 58 gigawatt, and in that time, our wafer. We want to talk about the module shipments. In 2020, we made shipments close to 24.5 gigawatt, and we became the first module manufacturer to ship more than 20 gigawatt of modules within a calendar year. And also in 2020, we had module manufacturing capacity of 50 gigawatt, and this year we have plans to increase it to 60 gigawatt. And also, if you want to mention about our global reach, like we are a truly global company, having offices and people all around the world. And right now we have 11 manufacturing bases, out of which 9 is in China, 1 is in Malaysia, and 1 is in Vietnam. Currently, we cooperate with more than 5,000 global customers and energy developers in producing green energy, which is used for various applications like be it agriculture, education, hospitals, or other industrial applications. As we all know, the product which we are discussing right now is a 25-year-old warranty product. Developers and EPC companies should select their module partner who is financially strong and capable enough to support all their claims throughout this warranty period, throughout this 25 years period. In that aspect, like Longi always prioritize its financial health and maintains a low asset liability ratio. To support our claims, like I can mention, as per Bloomberg's NEF report, third quarter of 2020, like we have the highest Altman Z score of 4.99, comparing to any other pure play PV companies in this industry. This truly demonstrates our strong risk control and long-term sustainable development ability. And also, as per Bloomberg's PV module bankability survey report, Longi has been rated 100% bankable. This again shows the confidence of investors and developers towards the brand Longi. And as per PV module tech bankability ratings, you can see in this pyramid, like Longi has been placed on the top. We are proud to say that we are the only AAA rated manufacturer in this industry. These ratings are purely based on considering various factors like financial health, manufacturing strength, and ability to respond to market changes, etc. And we can say like Longi's innovations, whichever if Longi comes up with any innovation in this industry, which has become a benchmark for this entire industry. Like as I mentioned, we have introduced this diamond wire cutting technology, which has significantly increased the cutting speed by 90% and saving all the PV industry companies close to 3 billion Chinese yuan every year. And also Longi's commitment to monocrystalline technology opened the doors for PV 3.0 era. Like initially when we started this business, monocrystalline business was just about 2 to 3%. Currently, we all know that monocrystalline is dominating this market with more than 90% of the market share. And also during these times, we have launched various products like our bifacial technology. We have standardized our M6 wafers, and recently we have standardized our M10 wafers as well. If I want to talk about the qualities, like Longi modules always perform well in tests which are conducted by the third-party agencies and set new efficiency record every time, which includes our recent efficiency record of 25.21 by our N-type TOPCon cell and 25.02 by our P-type TOPCon cell. And also we are aptly rewarded with many quality awards. Like as you can see, we have been receiving this All Quality Matters Award from TUV Rhineland, and we have received High Achiever Award from RETC, Testing Center from US. And also we have received Top Performer Award from PVEL. And also, if I want to mention about the offerings which we are offering in the Indian market right now, like we are offering our HIMO 4 and HIMO 5 series, like HIMO series, which is used and proven product in especially in rooftop applications, which uses our standard M6 wafers, 166 mm wafers, and produces a maximum power of 455 watt with a maximum conversion efficiency of 20.9%. And our next product is HIMO 5, which uses our standard M10 wafers, 182 mm wafers with smart soldering technology. In the coming slide, I'll explain about the smart soldering technology as well. And with this waveform in our HIMO series, we are offering a 545 watt peak is the highest power bin with maximum efficiency of 21.1%. And also in the recently held SNEC, we have launched our new flagship product called HIMO N, which uses N-type top horn cell technology. Like this also uses our standard 182 wafers, which reaches a maximum power of 570 watt peak with a conversion efficiency of 22.3%. This product will be soon available in the Indian market. And if you want to talk about the logic behind the Longi modules design, like it's a very mature design logic rather than supplying a higher watt peak range of modules without any technical optimizations. Like our modules are designed in such a way that it should have low degradation and it should have a stable supply chain guarantee and it should be compatible for transportation. That is the major concern nowadays in terms of modules. And also it should have a higher packing density and the electrical design also should be reasonable. It should not be very higher. It should be accommodated with the industry trends. And also previously when boron doped silicon wafers are used in monocrystalline modules, it has created LID and LETAD problems. Later, Longi has come up with a new technology called gallium doped silicon wafers, which has reduced this LID and LETAD problems and significantly increased the cell efficiency. As you can see in the graph, like gallium doped silicon wafers has increased the module efficiency similarly. And as I mentioned, like the current offerings of HIMO 4 and the HIMO 5, both are available in monofacial as well as in the bifacial models too. And recently we are seeing a trend like there is a huge demand for bifacial modules. And we believe that the coming years will be mostly
Sorry to
dominated by
interrupt,
the
sir.
bifacial.
Sir, your presentation is not visible.
One second. Is that okay now?
No, sir. Still not visible.
I
Yes,
guess
sir.
it should be
Yes,
okay
sir.
now.
Now.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. That's what, as I was mentioning, recently we are seeing a huge demand for bifacial modules, and we believe that the bifacial modules will be in the coming years. Modules will dominate this market by maintaining a wide reflective surface and making use of the maximum albedo which is possible. We can achieve a 9 to 25% of bifacial gain. These are the few tests which are conducted by the agents. Like if I want to be particular, you can see TU England Chennai has installed our bifacial modules along with the other bifacial modules which are available in the market, and they have witnessed efficient gain of 19 which is highest. This supports our 3%, which is a high climb in this case. HIMO 5 modules are complete smart string technology, which has two segments, majorly the making of triangular soldering, which maximizes light capturing efficiency. The flat section which will between the two. So essentially, small and technology increases section will reduce efficiency by 3%. Soldering technology, like we have invested close to 400 million in 2020. Our cumulative R&D is close to 1 billion euros. We are proud to say that 4 to 5% investment of our corporation income is invested in R&D. So we are tied up with many industrial partners and institutes like to get you can see the Southwell or Pioneer. If I want to talk about the breakthrough, we offer the best power warranty and degradation is less than 2%. And consecutive years on monofacial it's 0.5%, on bifacial it's 0.45%. About the future of Longi, we are a prestigious part of RE100 Club, where Longi may to achieve all its energy demand through renewable energy within 2030. It's doable. And also we are part of EV100 Club, where prestigious part of EV transport a new normal pledge to make before 2030. And also we are part of a EP100 Club. pledged to increase the energy productivity by 35%. That's it. That's it from my side. Thanks for being a patient listener to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this insightful presentation and setting the tone for today's event. Are you with me, everyone? Should we start the panel discussion now? Attendees, send as much as virtual emojis you can. Let us all cheer for the session experts. Okay, now, I know you are as excited as me. So now, it's time to begin with the most awaited panel discussion, which is on rooftop solar plus storage application for CA and segment. Session experts joined us today are Mr. Karthikeya Sharma, Head Growth and Strategy, Sunshore Energy Private Limited, who is the moderator for the session. Mr. Sohas Satyanarayan, Global Product Manager, FIMER India Private Limited. Mr. Devesh Parmar, Sales Manager, India, LM Energy. Mr. Vinayak Kope, Head of New Initiatives, Fourth Partner Energy. Mr. Siddharth Das, Head Distributed Solar Projects and Key Accounts, Havels India Limited. Mr. Aridhi Mitra, DGM NTG CNI Business Longi. Mr. Randeep Bora, Vice President SunSource Energy.
Hi.
Mr. Mukul Oja, CEO Sun Edison. Now I welcome all our panelists on the screen, and I would like to hand over the session to Karthikeya sir to take the discussion forward with other speakers. Here, I would like to make a small announcement for all our attendees. If you have any questions during the discussion, please post them in our Q&A box. Our panelists will take those questions at the end of the discussion. Karthik, sir, you can take over.
Thank you, Snehal. I extend a very warm welcome to all our distinguished panelists. I hope you all can hear me very clearly. We were getting some echo when Snehal was speaking. I hope that problem is not sustaining.
Still getting the echo.
Okay. I'll try and take out my earphones.
That can't be the problem at your end because it was happening even when Snail was speaking. So.
Hi, all. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. So I hope it is better now, and if not, then I'm not sure what else can be done.
So yeah.
It's okay. I mean, like, it's not too bad. I mean, we can continue. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And right. So thank you, first of all, Solar Quarter, for organizing this great discussion. I think this is a discussion which is very relevant to our current time, and I mean, battery storage has long been the holy grail of the energy industry, and it is only, I think, our incredible fortune that in our times we are seeing such a revolution that one after another, we are as a civilization, we are able to crack one energy technology after another to overall enable a transition to greener sources of energy for our times and our people. And this discussion, we'll be focusing primarily on CNI applications. CNI within India and also globally, but especially in India, has been the driving force for the green revolution, the transition to green electricity. They consume almost 50% of the overall energy every year produced in the country, and hence have an unparalleled role to play in adopting new technologies, making them more commercially viable, and contributing towards a greener and cleaner future. So, with that point in that being the case in point, I would want to open the discussion and start with Randeep and get his views on where because when it comes to battery systems, I think the two critical things that I think we need to start with are, what are the present opportunities which are available in the market, how, we are, how these opportunities are being evaluated, and how batteries are being sized to suit these applications which are currently commercially viable, and what is the future trend of commercial viability in these applications that we can expect as an industry. So Randeep, over to you.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Kartikeya. Thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Okay, so I'll give a brief about what exactly we are doing currently, and then we'll dwell upon the questions that Kartikeya has put upon. So broadly, SunSource has been involved in the storage business for around last 2 years or so. Finally, we are getting some action on ground because of the COVID project got delayed. Currently, we are executing around 3 storage projects, one in Lakshadweep, one in Andaman, and another one in Himachal Pradesh, which has been long pending. And these all are government projects. But then these are mid-scale projects, which are in the range of 1 megawatt hour to around 3 to 4 megawatt hour type of projects. These are typically mid-scale projects, but what we intend to do, obviously, is get into the CNI space because once we have these experiences with these smaller and mid-scale projects, we intend that in the coming years, we will definitely develop the CNI market where we are already present. We are present across 24 states and around 300 odd customers across India. And we are now expanding in Southeast Asia as well. So the focus definitely is to capture the existing potential clients that we have, and then along with the existing rooftop systems, why don't we pitch with the new age solution of energy storage? So looking at so directly jumping onto the point, like where do we stand now on the commercial viability of these projects? So although there has been a lot of development on the cost front, and the prices have come down by over 70% in last 7-8 years or so, the lithium-ion battery cost. But as on date, still I would say those costs are predominant for the larger projects. But when you talk of smaller projects, typically the rooftop size today is around, say, 300, 400 kilowatt, 500 kilowatt type of project size that every developer intends to do, which are not very small, not very large, in between kind of a range where you have the flexibility of having a maintenance team there and also optimize on the cost fronts. So if we talk of a 500 kilowatt type of a project, then obviously those cost numbers that we talk, for example, today on the lithium-ion battery pricing, people talk of reaching the $100 mark, which is the typical number that everybody has been targeting in the last few years. It is pretty much near that number. Say we are somewhere between, say, $130, $140 per kilowatt hour. But that is only applicable when you are doing a, say, 10 megawatt or above kind of a project. But when you do a smaller project, the costs involved are much higher. And although the dollar, in terms of dollar pricing, the values might be slightly lower, but when you get these projects, because everything is, as on date, is mostly imported. So you're getting the batteries, the entire containerized systems, everything is getting imported. So when you add on the duties involved, and the landed costs are way high in the sense that if you are looking for a 500 kilowatt project, it is like 3 times the number that the expected number that you are talking of. So we have seen the one BSES project that happened along with TERI in Delhi, and then there were a couple of other projects, smaller projects in Delhi, which have been installed with. So those numbers do not give a right picture. But then yes, this 500 kilowatt type of rooftop projects, the cost numbers are way off. So when we because we are a solution provider, we typically do not intend to do much of these projects in the EPC mode, because anyways the capex is on the higher side, and it will go way off the roof, and it will be very difficult for the consumers to absorb that cost. And typically in the period where industries are not doing that great, so we'll have to make a viable case solution for them, where we invest and we give them a solution as a RESCO. So as a RESCO entity. So when we talk in terms of viability when you as a solution, then we intend, and we have checked, we have done some analysis within our own customers and states, and we typically did some estimates for 2 states where we are present. One is Maharashtra, one is UP, to get a sense of it. So where do we stand? So it was making sense when your power backup requirement is anywhere between 1 to 2 hours in a day. So if you have a power cut of say 15 minutes in slots of in 15 minutes kind of slot in for 5 to 7 times, then those viabilities come into play. In Muradabad or in other places, Lucknow, there will not be too many long power cuts, but there are shorter power cuts that we have seen. Maharashtra, then coming to Maharashtra, we could find a viability with the commercial segment where the tariffs in some cases are in the range of around 13 to 15 rupees. So when you talk of those numbers, obviously you are in that range of achieving the cost viability or cost competitiveness along with storage. But then as on date, what we intend to do is only the replacing the DG sets, because otherwise if you are competing directly with the commercial tariffs also, it is very it is at par or it is slightly lower. So it is not making that much of economic sense to the consumers. And now the rooftop consumer are habituated with a 4 rupee kind of a tariff, and then we drop down a tariff of 8 rupees or 10 rupees. It is completely off their grid, and it will take a lot of convincing for them to adapt that kind of a tariff. So if you are not having a DG replacement case as on date, there may be other applications, like for example deferring of your capital cost involvement for load enhancement. For example, you are today running at 500 kilowatt, you want to go up to 700 kilowatt connected load, then you install a 200 kilowatt hour battery, and then those are kind of value addition that you can do. But then even if you put on various permutation combination, and then you use time of day concepts where you can use the storage power during the evening hours when the tariffs are high to compensate. So those kind of applications can pitch in, but at the end of the day, if you are not directly comparing it with diesel as on date, it is slightly off the limits for at least for the smaller projects. Yeah, if you go up the range of say 5 megawatt and above, you will be able to compete to some extent. Yeah, thank you.
Randeep, this is thank you for adding so much color at the very beginning of the discussion. And I think this lays the foundation really well for the rest of the discussion. And we are going to circle back to you,
sure,
right? Because I think not a lot of companies today have that kind of opportunity to set up such sized plant, right? 1 megawatt by 5 megawatt hour kind of plants, even within government sectors, right? Even within the government public sector. And of course, historically, we've seen that the public sector has always laid the grounds for any new kind of technology or business model for it to then kind of trickle down to the CNI segment and then eventually trickle down to the residential sector, right? So that first wave, I think always the government has always helped so far in clean energy entrepreneurs and clean energy companies riding that first wave out. So I think, yes, we'll definitely come back to you. And I think on the TOD front, I think I would like to invite some views from Mukul on how he believes that such an application is important and how the government or other agencies, other market forces have a role to play here in enabling that use case for batteries.
Thank you, Karthikeya. So I think excellent first comments by Randeep, right? And what I took away from that conversation is that the numbers that we hear, the low numbers that we hear for utility scale projects are still not applicable for distributed projects, and the costs are still higher for the battery-backed solutions. And the primary reason for that we have to understand is that the supply chains have not been established well enough. So if you have a sustained demand for something, then the industry adapts to that demand and puts together a supply chain in place, which will ensure that the cost structures are optimized for delivery to the end customer. So a competitive market is created, companies compete with each other, and through this competition process, the prices come down. The fundamental question we want to ask is, why is that demand not coming through today? And the answer is also, something we realized like 10 years back when we were doing solar for the first time. Right? Nobody wanted to buy solar in the first place. Like if you were selling solar 10 years back when the tariffs were exceptionally high, nobody wanted to invest. Like if we approached 100 customers, maybe one agreed to install solar panels. So my submission is that creation of this efficient supply chain will require government intervention. And it's not like a very high-hanging fruit. It's a very low-hanging fruit which is available right now, which the government can enable through a very simple policy decision, which can enable the entire industry to take off and prices to come down for distributed battery-backed solar solutions. That simple solution is time of day pricing. If we are talking about 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, then one thing is very clear, that dominantly your energy is going to come from renewable source. And if energy is going to come from renewable source, it is going to be very cheap when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing. And it is going to be very expensive when these two things are not happening. Now, the question is that the difference between these two, who is going to bear the cost? Is it going to be the people living the below poverty line in India? Or is it going to be the commercial and industrial establishments in India? The policy that the government has proposed so far is essentially creating large battery backups in megawatt scale power plants where the government feels that the lowest cost can be achieved. However, this is a very fallacious argument. By doing a very simple time of day, very aggressive time of day policy, if the government is willing to bring in, then the industry is incentivized. It sees the return on investment in the battery-backed solar technology. And in 2 to 3 years' time, you will see that the prices for the distributed systems will be 15 to 20% higher only compared to the large megawatt scale grid installations. So yes, Karthikeyan, I think you very rightly said that time of day is a very important piece wherein the government can, through a very simple policy enactment, can enable the entire industry to take off.
Right. Absolutely. I think, and thank you for adding the supply chain point, right? Because that essentially is the market making role that the government can play at such a juncture in the adoption of any technology, and especially technologies which are so critical to our future, right? And as has been laid out time and again on international forums, that we have the next couple of decades maybe to take decisive action and put ourselves on a path where our future generations can be a lot more comfortable. So I think yes, backing up just one part of the technology application chain, right, which is the front of the meter large scale battery backups. Of course, it is the most obvious choice for any government when they're just starting to kind of play with one kind of technology. But yes, I think we cannot be too late in starting to promote use cases for behind the meter applications as well. And TOT in most maturing markets and in most mature markets, we see that the gap between the peak power and the non-peak power kind of grows in order to promote organic demand response and ease out utilities as burdens. Right, that's what's happening in the US, in Germany, and so on. And I think in India, it is going to happen faster because the speed at which we are loading the grid with renewable energy, although not as much as we would like to see, and of course the pandemic has not helped. But yeah, from going here on forward, I believe that the peak tariffs would naturally also rise because of the higher cost of managing those systems. And the government should come out with some certain incentives of whatever kind for commercial industry to deploy that battery storage.
Karthikeyan, the most important thing is that who is going to pay for this offsetting of power? Is it going to be the BPL customer and government subsidy, or is it going to be the industrial and commercial customers who, if you take the case of multinational companies, most multinationals have a very strong mandate today to cut down their carbon footprint by 2030.
Absolutely.
So those mandates are already in place. All that the government needs to do is enable through a simple policy change, enable and give an incentive to these industries to justify the investment. That is
Right.
all that is needed. And the beneficiaries will be the people of India because of this policy change.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. And now I think from here I would like to pass on the discussion to Vinayak from Fourth Partner. So Vinayak, could you, because see, I think this ball is being played right into your alley, right? Because Fourth Partner being such a prime player in the commercial and industrial decarbonization space, would you want to expand on, a few things that I believe are kind of the gaps in the discussion so far would be what exactly does one have to think through when considering putting a battery management, a behind the meter battery system along with the rooftop solar power plant, and what are your views on the opportunities that such technology choices can unlock for industries, right? What is the wider value proposition for industries here?
Sure, sure. All right. First of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for inviting me for this panel discussion. Uh, I agree with Randeep that the first two applications where it right away makes sense to deploy battery storage even today, in spite of the higher cost, is a displacement of diesel generators and commercial clients in Maharashtra, uh, because their tariffs are very high, 13 to 15 rupees. And here I would like to spend some more time. So a simple study that we did for a warehouse. Commercial clients, like outside of warehouses, typically are limited by the roof area availability. But warehouses is the best example who have a lot of space available. So if we, one particular case study, if we go ahead with a simple grid tied system, then we could provide only 50% of the total day's energy demand using solar, considering the net metering constraints. And that will use only 40% of the roof area available for this particular warehouse. But if we could adopt energy storage, you can supply 100% of the energy demand this is, to this particular client with solar plus storage, utilizing 80% of their roof space available. So that's a clear cut value proposition, and that also gives net 15 to 20% higher savings compared to a simple grid tie system, because the tariffs are higher, yes, but you are also supplying more energy. So the ultimately the customer benefits with like 20% more financial savings. So that's a very clear cut value proposition. But the challenge here is that the customer typically compares, as I think one of the previous speakers mentioned, that a grid tie system tariffs, they have like 4 rupees, whatever, 4, 3.5 rupees, 3.8 rupees in their mind. So when you propose them 8.5, there is they clearly go on a back foot and they don't accept it, even though we tell them ki, yaar, ultimately at the end of the month you will have 20% more financial savings. It is still very difficult to convince the client. So that's one thing. And as I mentioned, see, warehouses, by using 80% let's say roof space in this particular client's condition, this particular case study, you can supply 100% energy, but there is still 20% roof area available. So there, warehouses, last mile logistics. A lot of these companies are looking at electric vehicles, mobility, and EV charging, right? So basically, their demand also will go up if they actually adopt electric vehicles for their last mile connectivity. And as their load increases, you can also utilize the remaining 10%, 20% of the roof area to further increase the solar. So you're not just supplying renewable power for their operational demand, but you're also greening their mobility with solar plus storage solution. So that's a bigger picture that we should also look at, and there is a lot of value to be brought by solar plus storage in that aspect. Outside of these two applications, there are a lot of the states have regulatory constraints. For example, Karnataka, as per policy, doesn't allow grid referenced solar power plants in OPEX. Some other state in South India doesn't. It's very practically very difficult to get net metering in HT, right? So all these regulatory constraints you can overcome by adoption of energy storage. And in addition to that, a lot of our clients are really big clients who have captive thermal power plants, and they would like to they have a lot of ground area available for uh, solar installations. And when you integrate solar with thermal power plant, then you have to ensure the solar smoothing is another application where storage will help, because then you can, the ramping up or ramping down of thermal power plants is more controlled because of storage. So there are a lot of these other applications as well. uh, and last point, I mean, I don't know is
Yeah, I think one.
questions or not, but I mean, traditionally, conventionally, people have been looking at AC coupled solution, but there's a lot of value to be unlocked with DC coupled solution as well, and we should be looking at that as well.
Right. And I wanted to actually ask, but I guess I'll direct this question to Siddharth after this. But Vinayak, I think you make a fantastic points with logistics, right? Because that is a natural, again, a natural progression which is happening on the uh, electrification of their fleets, right? Last mile logistics fleets, and the last mile logistics sector in India is booming like no other sector, right? Whether it is last mile delivery of food, whether it is of groceries, or you just, no matter how high you go, you see it like a complete overhauling, technological overhauling happening of that segment, right? Along with organizing with international players now, and or Indian players operating at international standards. So I do believe that there's a increase in power demand happening at these warehouses and these fulfillment centers, as they are generally called. And given the space that these guys have, and battery storage solutions could soon become viable there. So what is the, do you also agree with that, the threshold number, the $100 per unit? Have any insights on the commercial front here, that when you think that these kind of applications become a no-brainer for this
No,
industry?
no. So warehouses in Maharashtra, even with the current prices, as I said, the customer will benefit with 20% more financial saving, even with today's prices. A lot of the other applications might open up when the price will reach $100, but there are these two applications where it makes sense even today.
I personally believe that the Indian industry, or the Indian CNI segment, they always have this trigger, right? Whenever they see an ROI of something falling below 5 years, it it is of slight interest to them. When it falls below 3 years, it is of medium interest to them, and once it falls below 2 years, it becomes kind
No,
of a
and there are a
no-brainer.
lot of players, like a lot of developers in the market, like us, and so a lot of players who will offer these solutions in OPEX model, right? So ultimately, they don't have to invest, and there is a net financial savings at the end of the month. So I don't know why uh,
Probably
it's
because of the
question of
lock-in.
education. Is the question of educating the client. So you have to spend, or the industry, all the leading players in the industry will have to spend a lot of time and effort in educating them. Basically, that's where once they understand it, I mean, they'll adopt it. But there's a lot of time has to be spent in educating the
I
customer.
agree. I think one more. See, the thing is, whereas ESCO kind of models for energy transition technologies, of course, are the ones that move the big guys in the field. But a lot of cash-rich, medium-sized companies, who believe in owning their assets, which are also driving the capex rooftop market, for example, right now, right? It still commands the majority share in the market. Right. So I believe that storage would also go down a similar route, where people would, once they see it becoming viable, they might deploy some of it in capex. And once that starts happening, obviously the OPEX use case is also viable by that time. So I think that puts us ready for Siddharth sir. So Siddharth, Havels, is a big name, especially on the capex side of things in the commercial and industrial segment, and across the entire electrification value chain. You all have solutions which uh, are very, very, have penetrated very deeply within the Indian industrial segment. So what are your views on, when you see your customers asking for storage, or having those discussions with you on when and how this becomes viable for them?
Yeah, thanks, Karthik. Uh, India is a very interesting market. I mean, and I would say it's a more value for money. I mean, big market, good opportunities. But again, the challenge which we have been facing is more of a conduciveness. The policies, I would say, there is of course, a demand from the customer side, but the some of the policies are so rigid, or the clarity is not there, and especially in terms of storage. I mean, why a customer would need a particular product? So either, as you rightly said, the payback has to be, or the ROI has to be really good. And in India, if any of the product, as you said, 2.5 years of a payback seems a little bit interesting for a customer. I still remember when the LED wagon, I mean, in terms of LED street lighting, was picking up 5 to 6 years back, which was quite expensive during those days in terms of ROI. And that then the company called EESL came into picture, and the kind of economies of scale which they created, and the product awareness in the ecosystem, then you could see the prices also went down, and the adoption also became very fast. So that means from a 7 years of payback, it came down to 2.5 years. So this is a typical point where the adoption becomes higher by the customer, which we have seen in this particular market, any of our product line. Now, the same thing is happening with respect to solar. Now, solar, the adoption, as far as the PV system is there, the adoption has gone up. I mean, 5 years back, we used to really talk to customer, convince a lot. I mean, still the acceptance was not there, but now, yes, there is a proactiveness approach from the customer side also for this kind of adoption. Now, the next change is about storage. Now, of course, as we are talking about 2030, 450 gigawatt of renewable energy pumping into the grid. I mean, it's a big thing which is going to happen. 50% of the consumption of the requirement would be through renewable energy. The real challenge is whether the system is being aligned, whether the grid is being aligned to get these kind of pumping into the national grid. So that's the biggest challenge. And of course, here comes the storage, which is really going to create that kind of balance in the system with and it's a stable ancillary, I would say, a part of the ancillary services, which probably you're taking support of all these thermal power plant. And as Vinayak was already shared that, yes, ramping up these sources from the power plant is a challenge, and storage becomes a more flexible, I would say, solution to these kind of challenges which India is going to face in due course of time. So once the, I would say, in a simpler way, once the awareness, and once there is a demand which would be created by the I would say company, the discoms, policy changes. So these are some of the points which I would feel that these are the things which is going to make a change. And I'm sure with the kind of drop in prices, especially in lithium ion, which is close to 50% last 10 years, and which is again going to drop as per whatever the report which I've heard, that further 20 to 25% of reduction is going to happen in next 5 to 6 years. And again, with the 100 benchmark dollar per kilowatt hour below. So, which is, I mean, and again, your EV system, I mean, by 2030, your anyway, the projections 30 to 40% of the fleet getting into these electrical vehicle, automobile getting into electrical space. So a lot of churning is going to happen in next 5 to 6 years. And I'm sure the consumer, like the CNI consumer, are, as you said, I mean, they are completely, they are the consume 50% of the energy of the to complete requirement. So yes, I feel that things are going to change very fast. And I mean, today I heard that Adani is going to spend $70 billion in the energy space, renewable energy space. So these are the scale. I mean, Reliance or Adani, they are going to create that kind of large economies of scale as far as green hydrogen or lithium ion. So in that case, India is going to be a really interesting market. And for us, yes, we are a more of a consumer centric company. We are more connected deep into any of the corner of the districts in India. So I'm sure it is going to we should be playing a good role in this particular things which is going to happen. Yeah, in due course of time.
Thank you, Siddharth, for the very insightful comments. And I think so far the session has been dominated by discussions around behind the meter applications. As we all rightly know that the biggest steps that have been taken so far on the energy storage front have been taken on the utility scale and more on the grid quality front, right? The recent SECI tender which has come out. So I think front of the meter will lead the race in terms of deployment of storage assets, and nobody better than Suhas right now on the panel to talk about how he sees this front of the meter battery storage market really take shape over the next few years. Suhas, over to you. You're not audible, actually. No. No, not really. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, you're back.
Better? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for. I'm happy to be part of this panel, as rightly put forth by many of the distinguished panel. So, see, the front of the meter, recent SECI tender you take. Now we are talking about the deployment in the utility scale. So, the recent SECI tender, which came out for 12 megawatt, 600 megawatt hours, the tariffs for non-peak time was in the range of 2.88 rupees, whereas during peak time it was in the range of 6.8. The weighted average tariff of PV plus storage was in the range of 4.3 rupees. Now, I would like to give you one more number as a comparison. Recently, a pure thermal based tenders, which came like 500 megawatt or 1000 megawatt tenders that came with the pure thermal, the tariffs were in the range of 5 to 7 rupees per kilowatt hours. So already PV plus storage has gone lower in the terms of utility scale, as far as the tariff trend goes. Now I will also tell you about the commercial and industrial tariff. You take a biggest IPP in India, you can visit their website. For a HT2 consumer, industrial, they are charging like 8 to 8.85 rupees per unit in the lowest slab for an industrial client for HT2 category, and commercial is even higher, because it's always treated that commercial people are there to make money, and we always cross subsidize, always commercial takes the brunt of the chain, and it is even higher, 9.35 rupees. Now, seeing what does this say to us is basically PV plus storage. Okay, the acceptability part, which is again, that's the reason why we are conducting such webinars and things like that to educate people, is definitely viable, especially for commercial segment to begin with. Reason being, for any commercial client will obviously have some level of power backup for their servers or for their lights or for their ACs, air cons. So that will be a considerable amount. And the present day diesel cost is no longer 20 to 25 rupees per unit, what we were talking like a year ago, and not too long also, even probably 6 months ago, it's already at 35 to 40 rupees. So if you take that into consideration, and now we are back to business, and all the malls are opened, and the movie theaters are opened, and all the factories are working round the clock to meet the revenue demands and order backlogs. So there is a huge demand for power, and obviously, okay, we are in the kind of a winter chain, and when we go to the summer, I'm sure there will be a crisis for power, and we can expect some volatility in the power, and obviously the industries would have to invest some amount of money on the diesel generators, and it is going to be more and more economical even for the industrial segments also. Yeah, so in that aspect, front of the meter, why it is taking the benefit is, you take the tenders that are coming up. See, we want to have a renewable was always treated as whenever it comes we take, but now the way even the government or the SECI is looking at renewables is changing. They want to dispatchable, dependable, renewable energy asset. Because of that front, you can see numerous tenders. Of course, this is one that came up 200 megawatt is just, I would say, the beginning. And you can see like the tender that came in Rajasthan, and also in Kaza, the tender that came in Leh, which was 50 megawatt, 150 megawatt hour. So all these are in the front of the meter, and I'm sure in next one.
I think we lost Suhas.
Which will also make the commercial and industrial segment viable.
Suhas, you seem to be having connection problems. But what I'll do is, I think in the interest of time, I think Suhas, you've made some fantastic points on the front of the meter segment of battery storage. But
Hello.
primarily, hello, yeah. Suhas, can you hear me? You're having connection problems, so I think in the interest of time, we'll move on. So, yeah, I guess I'll make that call. So I think moving on, I think on the front of the meter applications for battery storage in India, most of the drive has come from SECI and from similar state tenders. But going forward, I truly believe that even the CNI segment is going to be pushing forward the front of the meter storage deployment. There are so many. I mean, currently the primary source of decarbonization for the CNI segment is open access solar, which is all front of the meter renewable deployment, right? And all of us developers who are working in the open access segment, we've got Sun Edison, we've got Fourth Partner and SunSource. Even Sunshore, we do a lot of stuff on the open access front. We've done around 200 megawatts in UP, in Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu. And we see that over there, one of the biggest pain points is banking. And with front of the meter storage finding commercial viability, I believe that for CNI developers, this is going to prove to be a great superpower, right? If we can kind of shave off the morning peak and supply power during the peak periods in the evening at a much larger scale than behind the meter installations would ever do, right? So with that, I would want to move on to Arijit from Longi and get his views on what he thinks is going to be the next big thing in the storage segment for solar plus storage segment for the CNI world in India.
Hi, Karthikeya. Thank you for the opportunity. I am not an expert in this, but what I understand from our customer point of view that in open access and also in rooftop, storage is not a priority right now. But we are seeing that the things are changing. A lot of developers are experimenting, and these kind of solutions will surely come. I think till now a lot of experiments are going on. Hydrogen is something that's going up. I think it's going to come up in a bigger way. Right now we are not seeing such kind of, especially being from module industry, we are our bandwidth is very small to work on any other opportunity than what we are handling right now. So but when we interact with our customers, we're seeing that a lot of interest and a lot of research is going on from the developer side, but it's not a mover right now from our side.
Got it, Arjit. Thank you for adding some salt in the mix here in this panel discussion. And now I think last but not the least, Divyesh, would you want to add some of your comments over here?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of, I would like to add, in terms of the opportunities, what we are seeing as an EMS provider. So, recently we come up with a draft policy of Government of India, wherein the government is planning to replace the diesel gensets in next 5 to 7 years with the renewable energies. So meet the C&I segment demand. So like the other speakers said that we need to make the solar plus storage more viable, which is in fact right now due to the increasing diesel pricing, it seems to be more lucrative and it is bringing down the levelized cost of energy use with the solar plus storage. So the opportunities are always there for the storage projects in C&I. There also seems to be some challenges. So when it comes to the application of the C&I, the optimal size of battery selection is very important. Most of the EPCs today are maybe they are doing the projects for the first time for the battery storage. So the involvement of all the EPCs along with the all stakeholders holders is important. So not only the EPCs, the end client also we need to be some educated and for the optimal battery size, which depends on the PV ratios as well as the loads and the other factors of the batteries like depth of discharge and the number of cycles required over a period of time. So what we are expecting that some kind of standardization for the battery optimal size selection, use of some softwares like the Homa, and apart from that, there are challenges in terms of the safety aspects also since in India the battery storage segment is not new, it is there since last 4 to 5 years. So we have not yet seen the challenges like the thermal runaway or the unintentional islanding. So when it comes to the installation and the manufacturing of the storage, so there must be some standards which will be followed in terms of the battery safeties. And last and not the least, I see a challenge for the ecosystem for the recycling of the batteries. So this is going to be a next step in next 7 to 10 years where we will have a lot of batteries lying there for the C&I segment, and there need to be a good value chain or ecosystem for this recycling and reuse of these batteries. So having said that, I definitely see good opportunities in India for the behind the meter applications also, and let's hope for the best for the market of battery storage in India.
Thank you, Divyesh. So I think we've had a very vibrant discussion around around the central topic of battery storage applications for the CNI segment. Now, I would invite all of you gentlemen, in case you have any more points that you want to add to this discussion before we open up the floor for the audience questions. I would like to invite all of you. If you want to add anything.
No, I would.
I'm sorry. Was there a comment from any of the panel members?
I think Karthika, you can carry on.
Right. So thank you so much for adding all of your valuable insights to this discussion. I think the key takeaways from the discussion today, for me personally, uh, would be that battery storage and solar are very rapidly becoming a technology that the CNI segment is dealing with. Uh, the once I think once it crosses the $100 per unit mark for deployment of standalone systems, it actually will is likely to see a hockey stick kind of adoption curve from there on, with early examples already being set up by mostly by government sector initiatives, whether behind the meter or front of the meter. And there are some very clear use cases now emerging, right? There are use cases, for example, the use case around warehousing and logistics that Vinayak very beautifully pointed out. And Of course, cases around grid stability, which is pushing the front of the meter deployment of battery storage, along with geographical regions and the commercial segment in states in high energy prices, states like Maharashtra, are all use cases which are already very relevant for backup and for peak shaving and for even for maybe TOD wise consumption from battery storage. So yes, I think exciting times ahead for this industry. And with that, I would like to invite any audience questions if there are, and over to you, Twinkle, for coordinating that. Or Snehil, if you're there.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for all this team panelists for all this wonderful session. And very special thank to Karthikeya sir for superbly managing the session. And as always, you were impressively well prepared and extremely professional in the way you kept all the height of our attention for almost an hour. Plus, you are phenomenal in making the panelists all appear at their very best. Sir, we have a question.
Right. I think Divyesh, do you want to take this?
Sure. So, as the question is that about the artificial intelligence and the IoT capabilities, I would like to say that there are some developments into the AI and the blockchains for the EMS, and where the algorithms are put in place to automatically calculate and forecast the generation and the speed smoothing. But these are still not yet mature for the India market, and there are very few players who are providing this kind of EMS. Talking about the ELAM EMS, we are still providing the wired solutions, and we are communicating with the Modbus over the different devices of the hybrid plant. But yeah, but of course, if you have any specific demands of this IoT or the machine learning based platforms, you can always contact me. We can find some solution.
Thank you, Divyesh. And I think just I can add another point to this. See, I think IoT capabilities, standalone IoT capabilities for data monitoring and reporting are very well developed. I think within the Indian ecosystem, there is a wide range of choices for all kinds of depths of solutions, whether it is for standalone solutions or whether it is for managing fleets. A lot of international players are part of the mix as well, and reporting capabilities of organizations are also being developed from within. I think application of artificial intelligence in synchronization of rooftop solar panels with grid forming technologies such as gas generators or diesel generators, right? Or in general, in the case of grid synchronization, also in states where net metering is a challenge, is also very much there. You have a lot of players who are doing that. In fact, in at least 10 megawatt worth of our rooftop systems, we have AI driven synchronization devices in place. So, yeah.
Very true. IoT is very well developed in solar, and even like artificial intelligence, any large player is seriously considering AI for its asset management system. Because without some level of artificial intelligence integration, it is going to be very hard to manage such a large fleet going forward.
Absolutely. And I think in solar, it is such a data rich industry, right? And it is so, I mean, despite being, stochastic on a looking forward basis, but at least in hindsight, it is so well quantified, everything that is happening for your plants or for your fleets, that I think it's a fantastic application for AI. And the Indian technology ecosystem is just, hitting it out of the park right now in terms of the speed of development of these solutions.
Very true. Especially consider even beyond the commercial and industrial space, especially in the residential space where the size of power plants is less than 10 kilowatts. it is a huge challenge because the profitability of the project is always under stress in India. So to be able to manage such asset classes, like thousands and thousands of such, I think artificial intelligence has a very, very dominant role to play.
So Snail, you have another question?
So we'll wait for 2 minutes if any question will be there.
So I would love to
Yeah,
ask
the
a
questions
question.
are put in the actually chat instead of the Q&A tab. There was one more question related to how can we reduce the cost using A&I and IoT, which I would like to take up this. Sorry, last time I had some network issue in the last few minutes, I think. So, yeah. So what AI can do, of course, it is very well developed. And going ahead, we are talking about how to reduce the cost, how to optimally size the battery bank, how to increase the ROI. At the end of the day, ROI is what that matters to an investor. How to increase the IRR and the ROI. So to do that, we would need a well-developed AI, and which has to be customized with respect to each states, each category of consumer, and also each time of year, time of day, whatever. All those complications has to be keyed in, and we have AI can help in sizing appropriately. First, a whole PV plus storage system, and also when to use the battery power for maximizing the ROI.
Right, absolutely. Mukul, you had a question, I think, for the panel.
Yes. So I wanted to ask Randeep, like 3 projects in remote areas. What are the top 3 learnings for you guys from doing these projects?
So all are in the execution phase. One of the, but still, I'll take it at least one project. We are getting it commissioned in next 3 months or so. So one of the key challenges that we faced is that for smaller quantities, we do not have suppliers. So as you had already mentioned, so you and the lead times are anywhere between 5 months to 6 months, 5 to 6 months minimum. So when you today, if you want, even if you want to deploy at a reasonable cost, and the customer, you find a customer, but the customer today wants everything commissioned in 2 months. And today, even if you have a good tariff and everything is in line, you cannot deliver anything before 7 months, 7-8 months. So that's a long lead period when you actually want to deploy systems on ground. So we could not find one manufacturer across India who could deliver the project on time. So that's the biggest challenge that we have faced. And also these larger battery manufacturers, they do not want to cater to the smaller capacities. Like for example, Samsung or LG, they do not even talk to us, or BYD for that matter. So it is only they are only driven by the US market and the Australian market, where the capacities are in the multi-megawatt scale. So they, even if they want to come to India, the intention is to only do the larger projects, and it will be very difficult if you want to venture into CNI space to get the right suppliers across India. Yeah.
So true, so true. And just to add a point on what you said, the prices that we hear for batteries in the stationary grid market is so substantially different from the prices we hear for batteries in the two-wheeler market. So, for example, India has a well-developing ecosystem for lithium-ion batteries for two-wheelers. But the prices that we hear from those vendors or from those manufacturers is substantially different from the prices we hear from Bloomberg. So, yeah, to your point, Randeep, I agree with you.
It's on the higher side, definitely. How is it? Like, I do not know that number.
So for at least 40% higher.
Okay. Yeah. So at least for the storage space, I think it is around $150 per kilowatt hour. But that is only for the storage. But then the rest of the components, like for example the container, the EMS, and the inverter, and then the HVAC, the rest of the other surrounding systems that you need to put in a system in. For example, we are doing a project in Kaza. There the prices are like, battery cost is like not even 40%. The rest of the components cost just to maintain the temperature at those locations. Or for example, Lakshadweep, we are facing a issue with the what you call the moisture. It is like 99% next to the sea. So you have to foolproof the entire system with so much of coating around the room or the battery containers, that the additional cost that you put in to have the system up and running for next 10-15 years that additional cost is pretty much a huge number. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for extending your time and support for the event. We promise you to come back with more exciting topics very soon. And the floor is now open for networking. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, everybody. I think I'm going to be
Thank you very
leaving
much.
the session.
Yeah. Same here.
Thank you for
Yeah,
your
bye.
thank you for your time and
Yeah.
your earnest, the thought that you all have put into this session and making it a great success. I think this was a very enlightening discussion, and I look forward to continuing this with all of you all.
Sure. Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you guys.
Thank you, guys.